Hi guys, this is Matt Granger, that Nikon guy for mattgranger.com. Now there's still some confusion out there about how depth of field actually works with your aperture. I've done a couple of videos on this and shown that there's lots of different factors that affect your overall depth of field. Check out the link there. One thing I wanted to point out is there's a real misconception that f2.8 is this magical aperture that's going to render the background beautifully out of focus and then it's just the perfect portrait aperture, or lower ones even than that, so 1.8, 1.4, that kind of thing, but that's all that they're good for. Or conversely, that f16 and above is only for landscape and it's going to give you everything pin sharp. In some instances that's true, and it's also true f8 is kind of a go-to for street photographers for a good reason, but it's not always the case. Let me illustrate this with some awesome drawings.
Okay, here's a tip for you to maximize your depth of field when you're shooting. First of all, remember that no matter what you're shooting, from your focus point, 1/3 of the depth of field is before the focus point and 2/3 is after the focus point. So to demonstrate that, say you're taking a shot of whatever, here we go. So the X is where you're focusing, the front line is your nearest point of focus, and then the rear is the rear point of focus. That whole range is the total depth of field. If you're shooting a face, for example, you might only have 3 centimeters of depth of focus. So let's assume you focus right on the eyes. You're going to have 1 centimeter in front of the eyes and 2 centimeters behind for a total depth of field of 3 centimeters, for example. Whereas if you were shooting a landscape and you've got a huge depth of field, say you've got 30 meters in total and you want to get some of the water and the mountain sharp, focus 10 meters in, and then you'll have 10 meters before that, 20 meters afterwards, and that could be all you need to get it. So remember, if you really want to maximize your depth of field, work out how much you're going to have to work with, and then choose a focus point that's 1/3 of the way into that range, and you should get it all sharp. Okay, so if you want to take a nice portrait using a 105mm lens, for example, at f2.5, so there's our person, they're 3 meters away and we're set at f2.8. If we focus right on the eye, which is at 3 meters away, at f2.8, it's actually going to give us 2 meters and 93 centimeters through to 3 meters and 7 centimeters sharp. So that's a total of 13.5 centimeters depth of field, which is just perfect for that kind of a shot. Next up, I was asked a specific question about a wedding portrait that I'd done of the whole group in front of a building. Now this applies to any kind of big group shot. Essentially, say you've got 3 lines of people, all with a little bit of space between them, so there's a bit of depth that you're working with. In this case, then the bride and the groom at the front, and whatever's behind them, let's just say you want to keep that sharp too. So in this example, I was shooting at 24mm and focusing right on the couple, and at f2.8. Now the question was, won't that give you too little depth of field to get everything sharp? The couple was about 6 meters away, and in this case at 2.8, that gives you 3 meters 19 centimeters all the way through to 50 meters sharp. So that's a total of almost 47 meters of total sharpness at f2.8, so no problem whatsoever. Now let's head outside to demonstrate.
Okay, to demonstrate that point, here we are at f2.8 and I've got it focused right in on my mate here. I'll take a photo and you'll see how little the depth of field is here.
I'd say we've got about a meter and a half there.
Okay, so that's 50mm prime at f2.8. Now if I refocus in the background on that building, at 2.8 I'm going to get a huge amount of depth of field. So I'm actually going to focus on these boats, the 4th and 5th boat, and then all the boats in front of that and the background will all be sharp enough even at 2.8. Let me show you.
Now I was focused about 30 meters away, and that gives you pretty much the whole scene sharp. It'll be sharp from about 15 meters to infinity, so no problem at all. That's at f2.8. Now f1.4's a super shallow depth of field, right? Well, you can use that for other things as well. For example, if you were at 85mm 1.4, 3 meters from your subject, your depth of field is only 10 centimeters. So that's going to be a nice, really shallow portrait. But if you were shooting a landscape of something ages away, say a river with a mountain behind it, that's my river, that's my mountain, and we focus partway into the river at 50 meters, then that's actually going to give us at 1.4 all the way from 36 meters 87 through to 70 meters 70 in focus, so 32 meters in focus at f1.4. So for some landscape shots or shooting buildings late at night when you don't have a lot of light and you want to get everything sharp, that's just fine. Another example, if it was 85 mil at 100 meters at f1.4, that gives you 179 meters in sharp focus. Just great.
As promised, awesome drawings, huh? So you see my point though, you can use f2.8 or even f1.4 for a landscape shot or a group portrait, depending on what your focal length is and how far you are from the subject. You can have a huge depth of field at f2.8, and there's no reason you can't shoot landscapes that are a long way away using that. If you want to have everything in focus from, you know, a meter away to infinity, then yeah, you're looking at a bigger F number. And you know, F50, when you're shooting macro, can still give you minuscule depth of field. It's all about what your focal length is, so your zoom, how many millimeters, 50, 75, 80, 100, and then also how far you are from your subject. And they have a huge impact on the depth of field that you're going to have in terms of what's in sharp and what's clear and what's blown out. So I hope that's useful, guys. Leave me any questions or comments. Click to subscribe, click to like if you did like it, and I'll see you soon. This is Matt Granger, that Nikon guy for MattGranger.com.